Hello, welcome back to BlenderSushi Live Noding. In this video, I'm going to explore Blender cloth simulations, and I will probably use either Sverchok or animation nodes, kind of to drive this further weighting of cloths. So it's similar to kind of dissolve effects, and where one pieces fall part by part. It's a classic effect. It's been used many times, but not until today that I kind of get it. Okay, this is actually pretty simple. The basic is pretty simple. What would be hard is probably perhaps the dynamics of cloth itself. If the cloth is actually being burned and it's become like ashes and become smaller pieces, that's gonna be a little bit more tricky. However, I also look at this trailer, Ghost in the Shell trailer the other day, and then there is this part where the character kind of turn into from this synthetic kind of skin, and it's become these pieces of cloth and being separated. That's kind of effects that I think pretty cool. So this grid, by default, it has 9x9 vertices, 81 faces, actually 100 vertices, 10x10, and I'll turn on the wire. Actually, solid wire, draw all edges. Okay, this is the default. I'll add a subdivision surfaces, but turn that into simple, so it has more resolution. Not too many, not too much, but just a little bit. And then I will use the technique from the other day. So just by using particles and make it like maybe 20 pieces. We're gonna separate this procedurally using Blender own kind of a procedural modifier, particles, and then we need explode modifier and cut edges. By default, you're gonna get something like that. Not so pretty looking. It's a particle thing. We can turn off the physics, but like I said the other day, this is kind of neat effects because it's already separating the mesh into pieces, and it's quite random. If you want to further randomize this, you can just play around with the seed. Okay, that's pretty simple. So now turn off the smoothing and we get back into this cloth piece. Save as. Like I said, this effect is the basic one is really simple to create. We basically perhaps currently it shouldn't have any simulations. I still keep the particles. I'm gonna turn this into cloth, and let's see, cotton. Let's use silk. So we want it to be like a synthetic silk. So we have subsurf. Subsurf we're gonna use particle system, explode, and cloth simulations at the very bottom. And with the cloth simulations, we can basically do the pinning. And as by default, it has gravity of 1. Maybe I can turn that into -1, but maybe I cannot. I have to change the gravity in here, I think. Let's find a gravity. Okay, by default it's -9.8. If I turn that into positive value, we're gonna have cloth that's floating up. Okay, that's kind of the plan. What I will do to this guy is to play around with the vertex weighting. If I just paint this vertex like manually, you know, and play back the simulations. Oops, actually forgot to apply this into a pinning. So this is my kind of like a manual pinning, and then the cloth's gonna break up, and then that part that's being pinned will stick to the ground. So that's basically the whole idea. We don't actually need to see the particles at this stage. Display none. Okay, so we have something that's working quite well already. With the cloth vertex weighting, I'm thinking, okay, maybe we can use something that's more dynamic. So the answer to that is dynamic paint. If you use dynamic paint and just turn this object into the canvas and turn on the weight painting, and now all we need to do is just to provide like a brush, dynamic paint brush, and this guy, instead of mesh volume, I will use mesh volume and proximity. It's gonna give this nice fall off, just a little bit. Okay, we can use this guy, and then I'll turn the brush into wire so that we can see the inside, and the effect is pretty much live. Now that we have this guy, I turn on the weighting, so Blender store the weighting in a cache. And what's happening now, if we go back to the cloth simulation setting, we simply assign the DP weight into the pinning. And if I play back this guy, hopefully that thing will stick to it. Doesn't seem to work. Let me try again. Still failing to work. Do you know why? Because the modifier order. Be careful with the order. This is a matter. Actually, dynamic paint should be on top of the cloth, so the dynamic paint weighting can be read by the cloth. Now if we play back, now the cloth simulation working, and then the pinning is also working. What's cool about this is this effect is actually live. So if I perhaps play back the thing, and then okay, I'm starting to move my objects, and suddenly it's stuck to the bottom. So this is something we can use for our simulation. I'll stop that real quick. So kind of like if I put the brush over here and then play back the simulations. Okay, that didn't seem to work. However, if I move this guy while it's simulating, this actually will work. I'll stop that again once again. Okay, in order to do the effects that looks like in the Ghost in the Shell, I will use one feature of dynamic paints. It's so instead of pinning the cloth while it's simulating, we're gonna do the opposite effect. So everything will be pinned at the beginning, and then this guy is gonna move. I'll do that real quick. So this I'll scale this brush, so it's spinning all part of the cloth, and this object is gonna move to the side, and whatever is blue is gonna start simulating. So that's the plan basically. For this guy to move, we can just keyframe it, or we can use expression. I'll just use expression real quick. So frame and then time 0.4 perhaps. So this thing is gonna move over time. Maybe offset it slightly. Two, or by -2, by -1. Yeah, something like that. That will work. And with dynamic paint, turn on fade, and over time the cloth will fade away, the weighting will fade away. So that's gonna create our effects basically. You see? Now in order to make this more interesting, we're gonna add turbulence as well. That's always good. turbulence with some high strength and then some noise and then a little bit of flow. Make it, I don't know if we should turn on global or not, but that should be alright for now. So have a look at the effects again. It still doesn't seem to work. Maybe turn on global and increase the size or something. It's getting there. Maybe I have to really increase it. Let's check the cloth simulations. Silk, step 5 multiplier, speed, mesh, spinning, stiffness, cloth cache, stiffness scaling, gravity force, maybe less by gravity. Let's turn off gravity and have a look at the turbulence force at the moment. Okay, that's the turbulence. Yeah, it seems to be affecting it quite alright. Stop that. Maybe sometimes it's a trick. The trick is to have two turbulence. One is bigger, which one is smaller but a higher noise or something like that. Flow. Let's have a look now. I'm currently recording and doing the simulation, so that's why it's probably a little bit slow. Yeah, this guy. 2, 4. Maybe size should be 0. Flow, strength, noise. Effect points, location, rotation, cube, both fall off. I'm pretty sure it's being affected already, so just not too obvious. Maybe I will also add another force field like a vortex. Let's try vortex. A little bit better. Now just activate the gravity once again. Paint with seems to be alright. Now the cool thing about this setup is we can always go back to particles and then make it okay, instead of only 20 pieces, maybe make it 40 pieces, and this will actually work. And you know what, because currently our mesh is very low res, but at this point, so I can increase the subdiff here, and with the particle system just increase it more, like 70. That will make more pieces. Maybe I can also turn off my wire here. Let's have a look. Now the piece is starting to break. Perhaps I'll make this smooth shaded, so more like cloth. Currently the pieces is slightly too regular, I guess. Maybe you can randomize the cloth further. Let's see, cut more quark particles, displays. Maybe we can also use displays with these effects. I have a feeling that the turbulence can be higher or something. This all this field. To give a better effect. In order to make it like a real time, maybe I should also export it out as Alembic. That actually works. So instead of the plane, maybe I can use something like, I'll use a torus, zero it out, and then so instead of this plane, I'll change this guy into torus, and I'll hide the original torus. So our object has become a torus now, and the effects will still work. This is our brush. Just scale it a little bit. So now we check the simulations once again. So the weighting is starting to, so the brush is moving, and so this part will start to break into cloth pieces. Yeah, I think the simulation doesn't work quite well with the recording. I probably need to save out the simulations, just bake it out, just to test this. So that's 7 frames of the simulations. Let's stop this. You see the cloth start to break. Smoothies always looks nicer. Okay, that's basically the basic of this cloth simulations. The thing that I want to do with the nodes is I will use Sverchok, and then the thing is, if we have a character, if we actually have a character like the Ghost in the Shell, it's a person. Depending on how you wanted to break the cloth, you might be okay, just break it from the top to the bottom, so that's easy. But if you want to break it from the hands and then break it slowly into the arm, that kind of effects, you know, kind of growing. So for that, you might want to use something that like Sverchok. It's more procedural, and I think it's not too hard to create. For now, I will just delete this dynamic brush. I will select our object right here, and I will create a box using Sverchok. So just box, and I will randomize along these donuts. I'm thinking to, okay, maybe I should make like scatter some points and then instance the box over there. But the easiest way is really, instead of doing that, I will kind of just use either manually or use Sverchok. I'm still thinking maybe we scattered using Sverchok. So MK viewer MK2, okay, and I will randomize a bunch of objects here. I will merge the objects. I will randomize using random vector. Maybe 20 is enough. Plug this into the matrix in, and this is the box. So we're gonna get something like this. Basically, this guy is gonna be the brush. They're gonna cover our torus. So I think I'll just do it like this. So 40, I don't want to have too many boxes, but something like that's enough. And that's gonna be our brush. This is a single object that can be our dynamic paint brush. And we're gonna use max volume and proximity. And then I'll turn this guy into wired so we can see what's underneath. Or maybe just a bounce. And using Sverchok, we're gonna push these objects out. It should be simple, just use scale, vector math. Just multiply by scalar. And here, let's use float. Float of 0 should be 0 out all the boxes. We can actually do that. So if we use a frame and we use a map range, plug this guy in there, alt min and max maybe with 50 frames. We're gonna make it from 0 to 1 or from 1 to 0. Plug that in. Have a look. Seems to stop working somewhat. Maybe I did something that's I shouldn't do. Okay, maybe don't do it like this. So we know that 1 will give us that. If it's a 2, 3. Okay, I guess we can use the frame once again and then use math. And it's gonna be multiplier. Plug that in. Put that guy in there. Start the simulations and then have a look. Hopefully now this should work as expected. When it starts, actually when at frame 0, I want this guy to be fully covered with the mesh here, and then it sort of grow out, and as it grows out, all the clothing weighting is gonna change, and that's gonna trigger the cloth simulations from the inside. So you can see that the inside is start to break. With the weighting, I was thinking, okay, sometimes it's also nice to just use a texture to drive the weighting, and that way we can also control how the clothes breaking. So we can see the inside starting to break. This effect is dynamic and simulating, so can be a little bit slow, but what I like about this, it's The controller is actually procedural, while the simulation itself can just do the rest. Sometimes if your thing is pretty complex, you really want to bake it. Sometimes the baking can be really long and takes overnight. This is quite common actually. The baking part and simulation part sometimes taking quite a while. So this is the part that I don't quite like. However, it's just the nature of the thing. It's a CG, so I'll try to maybe just bake it out. Turn this into timeline. Back to default. Make this guy less high. Save. Make it 3D viewful once again, and then I will I'll bake it out. I'll select this guy and then file, export, Alembic, start end frame 50, selected objects only, and bake. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Sometimes using Alembic and Sverchok cause Blender to break or to kind of shut itself down. So you can see it's a lot faster if we are not if we are doing it like this. Just bake it out. Alembic export is perfect for any kind of simulations, particles, cloth, even kind of procedural animation. If you have like thousands of objects, you can bake it out as Alembic. It's pretty efficient as well. The file size is not big, and once you load it, once you bake it out and reload the thing, the final result, you can really scrub it and play back in real time. Okay, 100%, 50 frames. Hopefully everything works. File, import ABC Alembic, and go to desktop. Grab our random pieces. Set cloth dissolve. Here's the cloth dissolve, and we actually have the particle being imported. That's alright. Well, somehow this thing doesn't work. I wonder why. Last night I was actually testing it with the monkey. File, import Alembic. These random pieces. Okay, this one works. This is from the other day. Maybe I did it wrong. So that seems to work. File, import Alembic. This also works, the monkey. There must be something that I forgot to do. File, save as. Pausing back to this guy. Maybe I need to add displacement and then zero it out here. File, export Alembic, 50 frames, selected object only, cloth dissolve, export Alembic. This might not work, or it might work. We don't know. Maybe I need to cache the cloth first. But anyhow, if this doesn't work, if this work or doesn't work, if that's pretty much what I want to show you in this live noding. The idea is really if we have bunch of pinning, vertex weight pinning, we can kind of procedurally animate that, just remove the pinning procedurally, and then by doing that we can let Blender close to handle the rest of simulations. It's basically that's the idea. It's pretty simple for this case. The effects of course can be more elaborate with if it's the close breaks into smaller pieces maybe. In some other package, usually the close is being broken into pieces using Voronoi or other algorithm. This might not work actually, but you get the idea. That's all right. Cloth dissolve. Yeah, I think it doesn't work. It's so weird. It doesn't actually have the alembic. It's not being loaded. Normally it's loading the mask cache or the mask sequence cache, and then we can open it, go to the desktop, check this guy. Yeah, it's really weird. Maybe it's a bug. Yeah, but anyway, thanks a lot for tuning into this video live noding. If you have any comments, feedbacks, just let me know down below. Thanks again for subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.